Hey there and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug video. And today, well, we're back with another ranking of the various different Akumatized villains of Miraculous Ladybug Season 3. And as always, we're going to be sorting these into tiers and then within those tiers into a ranking, based on how useful those villains would be if you were Hawkmoth and were trying to get your hands on the Ladybug and the Cat Miraculous. Now, we're not necessarily going to focus on the actual feats that each of these villains pulls off on screen, as sometimes the weakest piece of garbage villain almost manages to defeat the hero somehow, but we will focus more on what their powers could theoretically achieve and how they could get you the Miraculous. But anyway, with all that being said, let's jump into the video. So, as always, you gotta start with the trash tier. The tier that will never get you anywhere close to getting Miraculous, let alone both of them, and makes you want to sit down Gabe for a nice long chat about thinking through his plans more carefully. So, that being said, let's start with Hearthunter. Hearthunter is, in all honesty, pretty useless from the perspective of getting the Miraculouses. I mean, for one, doesn't even have hands, it's a giant floating two-faced head. How's it going to grab the Miraculouses? But even then, its powers suck for this sort of thing as well. One face is capable of turning people into love hearts, and the other face sucks them up. So yeah, it's not going to be very useful if you turn Ladybug or Cat Noir into a love heart and then eat them. The Miraculous would just be gone. So yeah, not really going to be capable of even getting close. Useless. Next up is Oni-chan. Now, Oni-chan has a sword. Yes, that's good, and she can use her power to make you grow a Pinocchio horn that lets her track you and allows her to swap places with people if they receive a magical text message from her. So, that's pretty specific. Like, really specific. But it would be good for the occasional ambush, I guess. But the problem with it is that it needs somebody to get the text for it to work. And the villain doesn't even have full control of the power. We literally see this in episode. So to me, this feels like a villain that looks cool, but would be kind of useless in actually defeating the heroes. Anyway, moving on, this season saw the return of Gigantitan, who still sucks. I won't go too much into it, but come on, it's just a big baby. Not smart, not fast, not anything but big. No good. Gabe, come on, man. Next up, we have the return of Reflector, who still has no useful powers. In this version, she gets to have a giant Sentimonster robot though. But what does it do? Why, it transforms people into Reflector, of course. So basically, it combines Gigantitan and Reflector, who both suck. So no thanks. And we'll round off this category with the tried and tested trash tier classic, Mr. Pigeon. He sucks so bad that even the show itself memes him out constantly. But at least he beats out these others because with his pigeons, he does actually stand a chance of stealing the Miraculouses, however small. But now we'll head from the trash can into the low tier. And we'll go with Star Train for the first entrant of this tier. So Star Train's basically a living train. And as villains go, it's pretty good, I guess. I don't know. If the heroes are actually on the train, it would be useful, but otherwise, this thing's just going to take off into space, never to be seen again. Unless, of course, the heroes put on a spacesuit and go after it. I mean, it just feels like a mistake. And I think even in episode, it actually is a mistake, and Gabe is not happy about it. If you've reached the point that even smooth-brained Gabe thinks a villain is a poor idea, you know it's just a terrible idea. But it does make it out of the trash tier, simply because it is useful if the heroes are on board, or if they go after it and get on board. Otherwise, though, it's so stupid. Bakerix is up next. He drinks a potion that makes him big and strong for a short space of time. Seriously, limited time? You couldn't just have the power up the whole time? Ugh. Very basic. And really not all that good, considering Ladybug and Cat Noir are already super strong thanks to their power-ups, and have enhanced endurance that means getting smacked around really doesn't matter as much as it would normally. Plus, they're also quick and agile, so good luck, because this dude is steroid-infused bread. And I don't know about you, but have you seen how fast bodybuilders can run? Not very. I do not rate this villain. And so, next up, we come to Feast. Now, Feast is an Akumatized Sentimonster whose power is eating people. Yes, that's it. He is giant, and he can track Miraculouses, and when he eats people, he's able to store them in a pocket dimension in his stomach, which preserves them. But once again, this is one of those ones that seems really great in theory, but in reality is stupid. Because this guy is a mindless eating machine who just wants to chow down. Say he eats Ladybug and Cat Noir. What then? Is he going to spit them up for Gabe? Or will he try and eat him too? If Gabe can control him, and can he even control him? Does the peacock allow for that? Or can he just destroy him? But anyway, if he can control him, what then? When he spits out the heroes, won't they just keep fighting anyway? It's not like it would do anything to them, would it? Because if it did, wouldn't it destroy the Miraculouses too? So either they're dead and the Miraculous are gone, or Gabe has to fight anyway. And I'm not convinced that this thing just wouldn't try to eat him. I'm just not. You can't trust a mindless beast. So therefore, low tier. And then we'll head into the decent tier. Nothing special, but nothing too terrible either. And we'll start off with Desperada, who has a bunch of musical instrument weapons that can turn you into a sticker on her guitar case if they get you. So yeah, it's another one of these ones. The ones that capture the heroes and have no plan of actually separating them from the miraculous. Can you even reverse the sticker unless you use the ladybug? Who knows? Either way though, I think this one's okay, but nothing special. And then we go to Party Crasher. Now once again, this is one of those villains that traps the heroes in some pocket universe, this time putting them in a mirror using his gauntlets. And so whilst it would be okay for divide and conquer, in the end it also doesn't help us all that much, I think. But where this guy gets a boost is being able to predict his opponent's next moves, although this is then counterbalanced by the ability to be overwhelmed too much by too much movement. And since the heroes, when they fight, are constantly running, jumping and swinging around, I feel like realistically, this would pose a problem very quickly. Next up, we go to Silencer, who's able to steal people's voices and store them in his mask, and then he can mimic their voice using his hand. And this is decent, but impractical. Whilst you can use it to steal the hero's voice and prevent them using their power, once that's done, what do? They still have their strength and their weapons, and you are no closer to getting the Miraculouses. And on top of that, he has to touch their lips to steal their voice. That feels impractical. So yeah, it really can't get much higher than this. Anyway though, let's hit the mid tier, the ones that are pretty good. And we'll start with Backwater. She has a sword. Hell yeah, get him, Granny. And things she touches with said sword move in reverse, and also makes her stronger. So in turn, this makes it easier for her to get the Miraculouses off those pesky heroes. But the problem with this once again is that she can't seem to control it very well. If something hits the sword, it goes backwards. So you can get self-sabotaged pretty quick. And because of this, it opens up a lot of difficulties that prevent it going any higher on the list than mid-tier. And then I think I'll go for Ikari Gozen. Pretty strong. Essentially a living suit of armor in the shape of a giant-ass centaur that can eat you and imprison you in her stomach. Hard to defeat, and at the same time is very capable of splitting up the heroes and keeping one trapped while she defeats the other. Very serviceable. But once again, the giant villains just aren't as good as you'd expect them to be. Because she's so big, you can get inside her yourself to defeat her. If you'll please forgive that phrasing. Yeah, there's the seatbelt thing, but for the most part, I think it's doable. Moving on, we'll go to the above average tier. Villains that are very good and very useful. And we'll start off with Weredad. Now this dude's just legit good. He can grow massive thorny vines that reach all around the city, allowing him to imprison people or simply make a crazy house of horrors with a bunch of different traps set up for the heroes. I always thought in the show he got beaten a little too easily, if I'm being honest. And on top of all of that, he's also just physically super strong. So all around, a good pick. And then I'll go with Chameleon, who can transform into a perfect copy of anything she kisses, with the original person falling asleep until she switches to somebody else. And look, if used correctly, there's no way this character can lose. This is tailor-made for a sneak attack, divide and conquer type of deal, where you knock out one hero with the ambush kiss and steal their miraculous when they're asleep. Hell, she can even use their superpower. That's pretty damn powerful. And then we'll finish this tier with the Punisher trio of Lady Wi-Fi, Princess Fragrance, and Reflector. So Reflector sucks, so who cares about her? But Lady Wi-Fi can freeze you, and Princess Fragrance can brainwash you. Combined, that would be difficult for Ladybug and Cat Noir to defeat. And I guess Reflector being there also ups their chances as well, even if her power is not great on its own. And so now, we can get to the good stuff. The high tier. The villains that would be almost perfect for the majority of situations. And we'll start with Chris Master. He has a giant floating castle, so that's pretty good. It's hard to get to at least. And he can bring toys to life that have a power associated with the toy. Hell, he can even bring superhero toys to life, complete with powers. This is very good. An army of toys? I mean, his only problem is he's a pipsqueak and he would have no chance if the heroes evade the toys and come straight for him. Anyway, Time Tag is next. And this guy is also very strong. When he gets in trouble, he can just portal in time to come up with a new plan. Hell, he can send people to different time periods to prevent them defeating him, or just to split them up. I mean, he could even send one hero, say, a week into the future, and then another hero 2 weeks into the future, and then ambush them as they appear in those times and take each miraculous. Time travel is busted, but at the same time, he doesn't seem to have that many other moves, so he can't get much higher. Anamaestro can transform into anything he can think of, as long as people are looking at him. Otherwise, he freezes. Yeah, that's a pretty bad weakness, but it's hard to fight with your eyes closed, and in a city, I guarantee somebody's going to be able to see him, so surely he'd never freeze. So, whilst he does have a dumb weakness that stops him getting much higher in theory, he still deserves recognition. Anyway, next up is Stormy Weather. This version can control the forces of nature with her parasol, including making volcanoes spontaneously appear and knock the Earth out of its orbit. This is very strong, but only if you're looking to kill everybody on the planet and destroy the miraculouses by mistake. Otherwise, you kind of have to stop using those overpowered things and just use the weaker powers, and that just isn't as good. And then I'll put Miracula. Yeah, she's not a weapon of mass destruction like Stormy Weather, but stealing powers and being able to use them as many times as you like, and even combining them, it's honestly almost god tier. I'll keep it here. I don't know why, but I feel like needing to actually hit them limits its use. The heroes do love to jump around and dodge after all, and as a close-up weapon, so it makes it harder again to steal the power. So no. And speaking of god tier though, we have arrived. These are the completely busted villains that are almost unbeatable without some BS plot armor. From here, we'll go Oblivio. It has a memory ray so powerful that it wipes your mind, but also your Kwami's mind. Meaning you could easily just take the miraculous straight away. So already, Jesus, that is a good one. He brings back Mr. Pigeon 1 billion times, but leaves this one in the bin. Gabe. From here, we'll go Kwami Buster, who can turn off your powers and steal your Kwami, leaving your identity exposed and your jewel worthless. Seriously, this is premium ambush material. It's only held back by having no other powers. And from no powers to all the powers, we'll go Gamer 2.0. You have to fight through a gauntlet of villains, and then at the end you have to fight him, but turns out he has all the powers available. So he has cheat codes to his own game essentially. This one is absurdly good. Classic war of attrition, chipping away at the heroes before the big boss battle. And next up, I'll say Puppeteer. Brings to life an army of wax models. Hell yeah. Many of whom are heroes and villains who retain their powers. How the hell did this one lose? This one should dominate. What are they doing? Next up, we'll go Miracle Queen. It's basically the Bee Miraculous wielder, so that's strong, but with a wasp swarm that makes you into a mindless slave. So you have to fight her with her power, whilst also dodging the wasps so as to not lose your mind. Plot armor aside, how the hell did this villain lose after having access to all the miraculouses and enslaving Paris? The plot armor, I can't believe it. And so we'll finish with the premium Chad, Cat Blanc. He already has the best chance simply because he's wearing one of the miraculouses that Hawkmoth needs, and therefore only needs to defeat one hero. Plus, he's a living nuke, and whilst killing Ladybug is out of the question because it would destroy the miraculous too, he can destroy her yo-yo, her lucky charm, anything she stands on, random civilians to make her give in. Lots of options that really do make him the most viable villain in this lineup. Plus, he can shoot out his Cataclysm as an energy ball. What's not to love? But anyway, that brings us to the end of the video. And man, these take it out of you, I'll tell you that. But as always, these were just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the ranking? Agree? Disagree? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.